So, what I just wanted is one little quick thing, 5 minutes. One of the things I want you guys to start realizing is that when you're jabbing, when you're not landing your jab, it still could be effective. It's an important tool. Because shooting jabs at someone's face in their eye level is gonna force them to react. You're gonna get information out of it, even if you're not landing. So not every punch has to land, especially the jab. And like I told you before, landing the jab is not as easy as people think, because a lot of the modern fighters, they're practicing slipping, they're parrying your jab, they're looking to work off of your jab. So you have to be very cognizant, you have to be very aware of what you're doing with your jab. So one of the things that I want to kind of explain to you guys is when you're throwing a jab, let's get in fighting position, me and you, Derek. When I throw a jab, what you guys are tending to do is you guys are sometimes getting a good angle. Like say if I'm gonna split Derek on this side. If I get a good angle here, you guys might I'll throw the jab and say he steps back and adjusts. I jab, boom, he steps back, and now I no longer have the angle. And you guys forget to get the next angle. So you might jab and then sit there. So same thing if I go this way, I might step out and pivot, jab, he steps back, he adjusts. Now we both got an angle on each other. It's not a good angle for me to attack. So what you gotta start doing is start thinking ahead, especially if you think a guy is defensive. If you know the guy's defensive and he's either gonna parry or he's stepping back, he's doing something that is moving on your first jab, then you might wanna, for instance, say, give him a feint and then do whatever you're gonna do. I'm gonna give him a feint, boom, step in and an angle and then jab. You understand what I'm saying? So you gotta constantly, it's a constant game that you gotta keep playing. It's about getting the angles, and then immediately when you have that angle, take advantage. But also understand that even if you got an angle, so get in fighting position, say I give him a feint and he steps back, I get an angle, and then when I jab, he steps back twice. You gotta keep going. You gotta start thinking ahead of like, what am I trying to do? Same thing here, say he's throwing jabs at me, right? I step back, then I get my angle change, and that's when I wanna start punching. You guys gotta keep that in mind, that when you're throwing jabs, that even if you're missing, you wanna get that in the eye area. So this way you get a reaction and then you make your move or your angle change after that. Because what I see a lot of moving, stop, waiting, then you jab, and then they know it's coming. They're stepping back. So I see what I call it searching. You're doing a lot of searching with your jab, and you're not feeling comfortable because you're throwing the jab and you're not landing it. Well, it's because there's no thought given into it. You know what I mean? Remember I told you yesterday, your opponent has a lot to say about whether your jab lands or not. It's not that easy to land jabs. So, there's a lot of different things you gotta think of. Get in fighting position, say we're too far here, and say every time I feint, he's stepping back, right? So in this type of situation, I'm not gonna always jab my way in. That's one solution, is to jab your way in. But sometimes if I know he's stepping back on my feint, I might step in and then jab. You understand? So that's that creativeness that you gotta just kind of pick up from experience. It should be a little bit easier because you've been fighting longer, you've been sparring a lot more rounds. It's something that you're gonna have to develop. But just kind of get it in your mind that, am I sitting here too long? And that's one of the things that you're gonna pick up with experience. Feints and your elbows in front are really important. You got your elbows in front, bam, you step over, you might feint, in an angle change, work your way in, get that foot in, and then jab. So today, like when you're sparring, I wanna see that jab, especially Ian, he's kind of slick and he slips and everything. So you gotta understand, okay, so you stepped in, like slip my jab this way. Say I go, boom. From right there, leave it out. You might step over and then 1, 2. You know what I mean? You gotta get a little creative with it, yeah. Another thing when you're sparring, so that's really the key for that little tidbit I wanted to give you. Understand that you're not gonna land a lot of your jabs, but if you're using the information that you get when you're throwing your jabs, you say a guy's bobbing and weaving one direction all the time, or he's stepping back all the time. Every time you step, he's stepping back trying to counter you with a right. So you already know, so if you jab at me, and he's like this, and you see him like, hey, I'm gonna counter you with a right. What you do the next time is you might feint, and I step back and I get an angle change and then attack, exactly. Whatever direction, but let's start getting that that game plan going. You know, and there's no right or wrong right now, because you need to get the experience. And just because I might do something doesn't mean it'll work for you. I remember I'm thinking a little bit different. I got a little bit more experience, obviously. But your objective when you're sparring, especially as tall fighters, is to use that jab and understand that you're not gonna land a lot of your jabs. It's not gonna happen. I've been watching boxing long enough, and I box and all that. You're not gonna land a lot of jabs at the end of the day. So don't sit there and throw a jab in the air, boom, and then hang there to get countered, or just have to back up. You know, you might want to feint and then bam, bam, step over to the side, do your angle changes, and that's all we're gonna work on today. So make sure when you spar, you're doing that. You're jabbing, got your hands out inside, jabbing at his face, gathering your information, but not sitting there. Don't jab, square up and look and say, what are you gonna do? Because you're gonna get hit. Or he's gonna get a better angle on you and you're gonna lose your positioning, all right?